Welcome to the Talking Diaries podcast featuring Dr. Louis Koster with John Kremer.
I think you've been fighting, you could say, uh, that, your mind gets captured by the duality of thinking, that every arising of thinking is not reality. And you actually say it's not of my making. The thoughts, they just arise. I'm not quite sure how they arise. Maybe you've identified that now, but you're certainly saying that if they do arise, you got to allow for the totality of that arising.
Yeah. Yes. So I may not speak to all aspects of what you just said, but I think it's worthwhile that one of the things that you said, I think is very much worthwhile speaking to. That is, if you just take a moment and let's say you close your eyes or you just what you call you relax or something like that, you all let it be, so to speak. What you become conscious of is that, well, there's merit in becoming aware of that which allows for the arising of the thinking. So, like we have this relationship with the thinking, like, oh well, there's a thought, and let me evaluate whether it's true or not, or consider whether I will act on it or not. Have you ever thought where they come from, so to speak? You base your whole life on the thinking, on what comes up in your consciousness. So if you take a moment to become aware of that which allows for the arising of the thinking, and with what I mean with that, so in my diary, I spelled that with a capital because it's beyond, that is beyond language. But that where there is no name for, which we can't describe, inside of which the thinking arises, that is consciousness. So when you become aware, when you become aware of that which allows for the thinking, you then become aware of being conscious. And when you are, you realize that you are therefore 100% responsible for whatever experience the thinking might give you. As well, it dispels the whole notion of an outside world, because it is the thinking that creates this idea that you are responding to something, while the something is part of the thinking. That is the duality of the thinking.
In essence, you're saying that all these thoughts that come up are, in some sense, of your making, but you don't have
Yes,
to interact with them. They're not the reality. They're just what arises,
they create an experience. Yes,
and it's not from the outside. So everything that thoughts have, the feelings, the emotions, all the you got to do this and all that, they're all
yes,
part of. You don't perceive them as coming from the outside, so you don't have to respond to them.
that's also true. Yes, they arise in your consciousness, in my consciousness. And so that insight in itself will have you absolutely stop complaining. It will interrupt all, well, whatever you might have going on, that the world is not behaving itself to your liking. That insight, there is no room for anything of that. You're completely, completely responsible for any aspect of my experience because they are of my own making, all of it.
But it's not an intentional making, it's just what arises.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what that stops is this interaction that we might have with people, with what a thought is pointing to as the cause of our sense of dissatisfaction, etc. And when we do, you have more opportunity to just see it for what it is, because it is the engagement that keeps us blind. It obscures our vision to see it exactly for what it is. It's just a thought, nothing else. It's not reality.
Does that mean there's no reality?
That's not what I said. It's just a thought.
It's just a thought.
Yeah, it's not my true, and the experience that it creates, that's not my true reality. No, it's just a thought, and it is an experience that it creates. Yeah? The thinking creates an experience of some sort, but it's not my true reality.
The true reality is what happens once you get past that, when you fall into being,
Yes,
or however you want to describe it.
yes.
Thank you for listening to the Talking Diaries podcast featuring Dr. Louis Koster. For more information, check out louiskoster.com/Talking Diaries and subscribe to the Talking Diaries YouTube channel. Also, check out louiskoster.com/quiz and take the free quiz to discover more about yourself.